This is the review for the 9th grade quiz tomorrow, November 15th, over equations. Okay, so the first one says, write the equation in slope-intercept form. So we know that we want slope-intercept form, and you should know that that's y equals mx plus b. So we want your equation in this format. For the line that crosses through 1, 6, and -2, 4. Okay, so if we're writing it in slope-intercept form, what we need is the slope, m, and the y-intercept, b. Neither of these 2 points are the y-intercept, so we're going to have to find both the slope and the y-intercept. So first, we need to find the slope, and we remember that the slope formula is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So in our ordered pairs, this one is x1, y1, x2, y2. So let's label those. x1, y1, x2, y2. And so then we're going to plug them into the equation. So it wants y2, that's 4. So I have 4 minus y1, which is 6, divided by x2, which is -2, minus x1, which is 1. Okay, 4 minus 6 is -2. -2 minus 1 is -3. -2 divided by -3 simplified would give us a positive 2/3. So this is my slope. And so I have the slope. Now you can find the y-intercept by putting either of these 2 y values in here, the slope here, and the x value from that ordered pair here, and then solve for b. Or you can use point slope form with either of the 2 points, and that's what I like to do. So I'm going to use point slope form, which we remember is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And so here, I can choose either of the 2 points. It doesn't matter. This one is all positive, which makes things easier, so I'll probably choose this one. So this is going to be my x1, y1. So I've got y minus 6 equals, my m we said was 2/3, and then x minus x1, which is 1. Okay, so at this point, we're in point slope form, and you would get almost all the credit for this, but we need to put it in slope-intercept form to get full credit on the quiz tomorrow. So to put it in slope-intercept, it's pretty easy from here. We're going to move this 6 over, so I'm going to add 6. This becomes 0, and I get y equals, distributing, gives me 2/3 x minus 2/3 plus 6. Okay, and if we remember, in order to add, now you have a calculator on your quiz, so you can do this in the calculator, but in order to add a fraction and a whole number, we need to change this whole number to a fraction with a like denominator. So since this is a 3, we want to multiply the top by 3, and we get 18, and the bottom by 3, and we get 3. Okay, so we have -2/3 plus 18/3, and so my equation in slope-intercept form would be y equals 2/3 x from the beginning, and then 18 and -2 added together gives me a positive 16/3. If you can divide 16 by 3, then go ahead and do that to simplify, but 3 does not go into 16, so we're going to leave this a fraction. Okay, so this is our final answer. This is the equation in slope-intercept form for the line that goes through these 2 points. So you find the slope first, put it in point slope form, solve for y, and then you're finished. On your quiz, I will not put a y-intercept that's a fraction. So you're not going to have a fraction part here where we had to find a like denominator. I won't do that on your quiz. So it'll be a little easier. Okay, the second one says graph the line y equals -2x plus 6. All right, this one is already in slope-intercept form, so we know that this is our slope, and we're going to write it as a rise over run because we need to graph it. So as a rise over run, this is -2 over 1. And this is our y-intercept. So let's go ahead and write that as an ordered pair. So this is my starting point or beginning point. I'm going to put a dot at 0, 6 on the graph. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is my beginning point because that's the y-intercept, and this is the y-axis. This is the x-axis. From there, I'm going to use my slope. The -2 means that I can go down 2 and to the right 1. Okay, if the top number is negative, usually I want to go down, and if the bottom number is positive, I want to go right because that's towards the positives. Down would be towards the negatives, which is what I want, and right would be towards the positives, what I want. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, and to the right 1, and put a dot. I can keep going and do that again if I want. Down 1, 2, to the right 1, down 1, 2, to the right 1. I can do that as many times as I want, and I should hit a point on the line. I only need 2 points though to connect the dots and make a line. Okay, so I'm finished. I started with my y-intercept right here, and then I went down 2 over 1 to the right because my slope was -2, which is, as a fraction, -2 over 1. Okay, the next one says, write the equation in point slope form that has a slope of -2, and it goes through the point -2, 4. Now this is really easy because I gave you everything that you need to write your equation in point slope form. We have a point and we have the slope. So we have everything that we need for the equation. We don't have to find anything, we just have to write it correctly. So the equation, remember, is y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. And I'm going to plug the numbers in and be finished with this problem. So y stays y. It doesn't have a subscript, which is the little number. This is called a subscript. It doesn't have one. And so we're not going to plug anything into it. It always just stays a y. And then it says minus, then it says y1. This is the y value, so this is going to be my y1. 4 equals the slope, which they said was -2, and then parentheses, then x, again, this one has no little subscript, so this one will stay x, always x, okay, minus, and then it says x1, which is -2. Now, when we write the final answer, these two negatives will combine to give me a positive. So because the 4 was positive here, when I put it in the equation, it's going to look like minus. Because the 2 is negative here, when I put it in the equation, it'll look like positive. So my final equation is y minus 4 equals -2 times x plus 2. And this is my equation in point slopes form. So be careful to see which format they want. This one wants point slope form. If they wanted slope intercept, I would solve for y and get rid of the parentheses. Okay, last one. Choose the equation that would be perpendicular. So perpendicular, we remember, is two lines that have slopes. So really, we're only looking at the slope when we want to find perpendicular. We don't really care about the y-intercept so much. So I'm looking at all of these slopes. And when it's perpendicular, I want opposite. So for example, if it's a positive slope to begin with, my perpendicular one will be negative. And if it's negative to begin with, my perpendicular one will be positive. So I want to change the sign, make it opposite, and reciprocal. I want to find the reciprocal, which means I want to find the flip. So for example, if it's 2/3, the reciprocal would be 3/2. If it's a positive 2, remember that's the same thing as 2/1, so the reciprocal would be 1/2. Okay, so this one is a positive 3. That means the reciprocal, because 3 is the same as 3/1, would be 1/3. And then the opposite would be negative. So all I have to do is find the one that's a negative 1/3, and that would be the perpendicular line. Done. This one would be parallel. So if it's asking for parallel instead of perpendicular, the slopes should be the same.